Hello, and welcome to the GBC Productions channel. This is episode 26. In this video, I will be taking apart an old 8-inch hard drive. This particular drive is a Prime Model 3450-10. I don't have much information on this, but the only information that I do have is the data sheet, the write-in sheet that tells you where all of the bad sectors are. I would say this drive is probably about 35 megabytes. So anyway, let's take this thing apart. It does not work anymore. There are components missing. I am not going to fix it. And I have no need for this drive anymore. So I might as well just take it apart. What better way to get rid of it than do a teardown? So first, let's take this controller board off the top. An interesting thing to notice is all of the resistor networks. Those tan packages are resistor networks. There are a couple of white resistor networks that look very similar to the calibration resistor on the tachometer for my car. That would be video number 10, I believe. So those resistors would have been adjusted with a laser. So here's the main board off. Let's see if we can find a production date somewhere on here. Now, dates I'm seeing on the chips are from 77, 80, 83. So I'm thinking this thing was probably built in 1983 or 1984. A pretty interesting heatsink on this transistor can. The transistor is a 2N3905A. And they have all these dip switches on here for setting sectors and read, write, enable. And this is probably a PROM for it. This one over here definitely is. So let's get further on in here. This thing is heavy. Looks like I have to take the screws off the heatsink on the side. Let's go back to this first board for a minute here. I want to show you something. One thing that was very typical of double-sided boards of this time, one side, the traces will go this way, and on the other side, they'll go this way, so they're perpendicular to each other. Another thing I'm doing is trying to see what components I can save off of this. Usually when I get rid of something like this, I'll take a Ziploc bag, and whatever components I can fit in the bag, I'll keep. If it doesn't fit, I throw it away. Looks like I have to take these standoffs off as well. And off it comes. And it looks like the connectors for the drive heads are down here. This has the main power connector. And the main motor controller. Another interesting thing before we go any further into this, I want to show. There's a lock here that you use when you transport the drive to actually park the heads and lock the platters from spinning. Well, these are big screws. I'm going to need another screwdriver for this. I got the big P3 screwdriver. Now I can start taking these screws out. And now we get the frame out of the way. Now we can get a better look at the park mechanism. This drive is quite dusty. It's been sitting in a storage room for years. Oh, here's a production date. June 3rd, 1983. Now, an interesting thing to note is the data sheet that I showed at the beginning of the video has a date of July 2000. So this drive was still in service shortly after 2000. A big air filter. This looks like the amplifiers for the read-write heads. So there's the full travel of the heads. It's quite surprising how much of the disc is not used. Let's take the platters out. There's one of them. And there's a spacer. Can't really get that one out, so I'm going to take the head assembly apart. Looks like the heads are actually controlled by a solenoid rather than a stepper motor. There's what those two heads look like. Talk about a precision fit. It's hard to get it out of here. another platter, and another spacer, and the third platter. Let's take the motor mechanism out. Now I'm going to pull the magnet off the back of the motor. There's the magnet. And there's the coils. That's quite a big bearing in there. It's a 6200Z Nachi bearing. Now I want to look at this head transport mechanism. I'm guessing they just vary the voltage to move the heads to different positions. Let me see if I can take this back cover off. Well, that cover doesn't want to come off, so well, there's not much else to see down here. There are ball bearings that ride on these tracks. So this is as far as I'm taking it apart. And that's what's inside an old 8-inch hard drive. So later on I'm going to go through and see what parts I can salvage out of this. Don't forget to subscribe for more, mash that like button, and comment below. Until next time, this is Uncle D from GBC Productions, signing off.